everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you my August wrap-up. I read quite a few things this month. Most of it honestly was manga volumes, which I'm totally okay with. I really enjoyed everything I read this month. I didn't really have like too many low books or too many high books. I feel like it was all kind of like in the middle, which I feel like is a pretty successful month. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. So first up for manga I read this month, I did read volumes 1 through 10 of Blackbird by Kanoko Sakurakochi. I know I'm pronouncing that name wrong and I apologize for that. This manga follows a girl named Misao who finds out that she is what is called a Senka maiden. And what this means is that she's basically very valuable to demons. And in this, she falls in love with a Tengu, and it kind of goes from there. I really enjoy this story. I feel like it's got like tons of romance, lots of funny parts, and just like regular, you know, normal slice of life kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed this. I do plan on continuing on with the series. I also read the entire series of Butterflies Flowers by Yuki Yoshihara, and that is volumes 1 through 8. This is a manga series that's kind of like a servant to lover story. I don't really know how to describe it. It follows a girl whose family used to be a wealthy aristocratic family, and suddenly they go bankrupt and then they're all forced to work like normal jobs. And when she enters the workforce, she meets a man who she actually recognizes from her childhood as being a boy who was kind of like a nanny to her, and they fall in love and the story kind of goes from there. There's definitely lots of parts of this story that I was kind of like about. There's some things in there that I was like, okay. But overall, I really enjoyed it. It did make me laugh out loud in multiple volumes. I think the beginning of the series had a lot more humor in it than the ending part. But overall, I did really enjoy it. I think I ended up rating these books between 2 to 3 stars overall. I also read a couple of ebooks this month. The first is I Don't by Ella Fox. This story follows a couple that something occurs that causes them to break up, and you kind of don't really know what it is in the beginning. You just know that the woman has left the man and she's working on making a life for herself. And eventually the man comes back into the picture to kind of work through their issues, and then you kind of find out what happened to make this couple that was like so strong and so in love break up. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it had a lot of really good characters in it, and there were some funny parts. There were also a lot of like sad and angsty parts. It's definitely a very quick read, definitely like kind of like a part of the new adult, but not like too smutty. I ended up rating it 3 out of 5 stars, which I think is a pretty fair rating for something like this. It wasn't like amazing, but it also wasn't terrible either. I also picked up Freaks, which is the final book in the Dirty Nasty Freaks trilogy by Callie Hart. I really loved this whole series, and the final book kind of let me down just a little bit. I don't know what it was that was missing in it. It was just like sometimes I was kind of like, okay, like let's get on with it. But it's nothing against the author. I will continue to read Callie Hart books. I did really enjoy it for what it was. It's a new adult kind of romance book following Fix Marcosa, who is an ex-priest turned hitman, which is kind of a weird concept, but it actually kind of works in this series. And it also follows Sarah Lafferty, who is on her way to her sister's wedding, and things kind of go from there when they meet. Like I said, I really did enjoy the book. I recommend picking it up if you're looking for like a steamy, kind of angsty new adult romance series. I also picked up one graphic novel this month, and that was Archie Volume 1 by Mark Waid, Fiona Staples, Annie Wu, and Veronica Fish. I read this as a part of BookTubeathon. It was a really interesting read. It's kind of like a whole new revamping on the Archie world in the comics, and it stays true to the characters. Like the characters haven't changed too much. They're kind of just like revamped and a little bit more updated to today's like technology and stuff. I don't have anything against it, and I do plan on continuing on with the other volumes of the series. There were some parts of it that were a little bit slow that I wasn't really that interested in, but overall I did enjoy it. The cool thing about this graphic novel series, and I don't know if later volumes do it, I believe they do, but the art actually changes throughout as they have multiple people who did the art in the series, which I think is really cool. It keeps it kind of fresh and just flowing, and it's really nice to see everybody's take on these characters and everything. So I did end up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars. I did have an e-arc that I read this month, but I also did pick it up in physical form, and that is The 1001 Dark Nights, The Prince by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Jennifer L. Armentrout is one of my favorite authors. I really enjoy her books, and The Prince is actually kind of like a spin-off from her Wicked trilogy. In the Wicked trilogy, it's like a world of fae, and it's set in New Orleans, so it's it's really awesome. I highly recommend picking it up if you're looking for like a kind of new adult. It doesn't get too steamy, but it is a little bit, you know, I would say probably on the lower side of new adult. If you're looking for something like that, I definitely recommend it. In this one, we follow Brighton and the prince, who you do meet in that trilogy, so I do recommend reading that trilogy first if you haven't already, just so you don't get spoiled for them, and plus they're great books, so why not? I also participated in Fairytale Athan in August, and I don't want to go over the books too much because I did do a Fairytale Athan wrap-up, but I did read A Crown of Wishes by Roshani Chakshi and The Shadow Queen by C.J. Redwine, along with Sea Witch by Sarah Henning. I enjoyed all of these books. I think they were all great reads. If you're interested in hearing more of my thoughts about that, please check out my Fairytale Athan wrap-up, which I'll leave linked down below in case you're interested. I also picked up a very exciting book. I'm so happy that I've read it. I was a little intimidated going into it just because like these books are so angsty, and every time I read one they just take me on a roller coaster of feels. But I did read A Reaper at the Gates by Sabaa Tahir this month, and I love this series so much. I'm sure most of you have heard about this series. It's the Ember and Ashes series, and I enjoy it so much. It follows multiple characters. In the first book, you follow Laia and Elias, who are a slave and like a soldier in this like Roman type setting. It's so good. It's a great fantasy series. There's magic, there's like creatures, there's lots of folklore and all sorts of different people, and I enjoy it so much. I highly recommend picking it up, and I'm just so proud of myself for reading this book. I picked up Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I did not enjoy this book as much as I was anticipating enjoying it. I am a huge gamer fan. I like nerdy stuff, so I thought this would be such a great read. I didn't understand a lot of the references though. I think there's like a lot of references to 80s things, and that's not something that I have a lot of experience with, so a lot of it kind of went over my head, but overall it was a fairly decent read. I liked the concept of having this virtual reality world. It's all about this massive contest to win this money that this game creator has left behind, and I really did enjoy that. The characters in it are pretty cool. There is some diversity in the book, not a lot. I ended up giving Ready Player One 3 out of 5 stars. And to kind of shake up my reading this month, I did pick up Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. I was not expecting there to be as much smut in there as it was, and people are like, yeah, April, like it's basically all smut, and that's fine, like nothing against that. I thought it was great, you know, for what it was. I just wasn't quite expecting it when I went into it. This is kind of like an office romance story, and I did enjoy it. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars, and I do plan on eventually continuing on with the series. I also continued on with my read of the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. I did buddy read 2 books with one of my really good friends. The first was Lover Awakened by J.R. Ward. This is the 3rd book in the series, or Zeta's story, as some of you might know. I really like this book. Like, I think thus far of the books that I've read, this is my favorite. I really like Zetas as a character. He's definitely like a dark and angsty character, and I really enjoy that. And the romance that was in this book I thought was just so good and perfect, and I am so happy that I read it. I did also read, of course, Lover Revealed by J.R. Ward. This is the 4th book in the series, which follows Butch. So I enjoyed both of these books. They're such a great series. If you haven't picked them up yet, please do. They are wonderful, like vampire romance stories, but there's also like a lot of other things involved in the stories. I also read The Crown of Embers by Ray Carson. This is a book that I've been meaning to read for a while now. It is the 2nd book in a Girl of Fire and Thorn series. I really enjoy this series. It's a little bit older of a YA book, but I feel like they are very, like, they keep up really well with like what's coming out in today's YA publishing, so I really enjoyed it. It's a fantasy series that's set in kind of like a deserty setting, where a girl has what is called a godstone, and that means that she's sort of like destined by God to have like this life that's, you know, very purposeful. And there's definitely like a lot of religious undertones in it, but I think it's such a great read. The story is wonderful. I love the characters. There's romance in it, which is always nice, and the political intrigue is really awesome to read, and I'm just so happy. I hope to pick up the 3rd book very soon because I gotta know what happens. Alright, so that is my August wrap up. I feel like such a fantastic reading month. I read a lot of different things, and I really enjoyed the books that I read. Please let me know in the comments down below if you have any new favorite books that you read this month, and I will see you soon. Bye!